All right, guys. Commercial auto part 3. This will be the last part we're going to go through. This one is specifically going through some forms in terms of quotes, proposals, things like that that we'd go through and make sure that we understand what everything is saying, what it looks like for familiarity, etc. Okay, so motor carrier permit. What is it? DMV issues this, and it's not just the regular DMV. So it's not like you can tell one of our clients if they're having an issue, they can just go down to the DMV. It's a special registrations unit that they have to call into and talk to. The motor carrier, they issue it to the motor carrier, basically verify that they have a permit to operate commercially on the roads. So who needs it? It's basically people with a gross vehicle rating of 10,000 pounds or more, which is, a lot of our clients have trucks with an F350 or something like that. Businesses paid to transport property in a vehicle, so for hire, moving companies, things like that, or anyone transporting hazardous materials. Okay, so right here, I'm going to take you, this is what an actual permit looks like, so you're familiar with it. You'll see the company name, what it is, that's their MCP number, valid from, this is just an old one that I pulled up, but it just looks like a standard permit. So if you ever see one, that's what it kind of looks like. Any questions? It'll explain right here what they are like, or what they are permitted for. Okay? Okay, so what part do we as the insurance brokerage play with them? Not a whole lot. The MCP permit requires that they have proof of workers' comp and auto liability. So basically what happens, practically speaking, is our clients will come to us and say, hey, we need the certificate issued. We don't issue it directly. We go to the carrier issues it. One of the important things that we're trying to do is making sure that we list it in the forms in Epic so that every year it auto renews and the carriers will just send it out. And this is what the certificate looks like from the carrier that goes out, and it looks a little different. Some of them will actually have the DMV logo up there, but you'll see, I mean, just like a normal certificate goes out, this one has the auto liability and then the workers' comp portion down there. Just looks a little bit different than the Accord form certificates that we issue. All right. MVRs. These give a history of the driver's tickets, accidents, violations, points, suspensions, etc. Basically just what they've done right, what they've done wrong, and anything to be on the lookout for. So just wanted to pull one up just to take a look. That's probably hard to read. So again, you'll see their license number up there. You'll see their name up there too, but I whited it out on this one. Information about the driver there. Down here is really what we're reading, right? So this one had a DUI, so they got 2 points for that. It also will say things, and you'll sometimes there'll be a second page that will list any further details on requisites of suspensions, things like that. This one only had one, but it'll go through the suspension, the completion of the program, when they're eligible to drive. Here's what's important up here. You'll see a status that shows it's a valid license. You'll also be able to see things on here, what they're actually allowed to drive, right? This is a Class C. Some will actually have motorcycle licenses, etc. I wanted to pull up one more just so you guys could see. Is this one, just to show that it will also be up. You'll see they haven't had any violations, but it does list the accidents, okay? But they don't have any points. You don't get the points associated with the accident. So it's not a violation, it's just notification of the accident.
But typically, won't the carrier come back and say what happened on those accidents, even if there's no points?
No.
No, they don't. They just know it's a no fault.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that issue. I mean, unless any of you guys have had asking about it. Okay, so that was motor vehicles. Okay, auto quotes. So I'm not going to sit and go through each one of these for all the carriers individually. We'll go through a couple of them just to get an idea of where they come from. But in the file that I've sent you guys, these, again, you can go through and look at these PDFs and kind of make sure that you know and you are familiar with each of the carriers we deal with, where you can find information. We'll probably just go through NIF and Liberty, just so, because those are our two most common, so we can take a look at what, where we can find all of the necessary information. Okay, so what you'll see here, this one is actually part of a package proposal, so it's good to see. NIF, you know, will have GL property inland marine sometimes. So we're going to go down and skip through all the general liability for now, straight into the auto, right? So we can go through and we can see where they're putting, as we talked about before, the hired, the non-owned, liability limits, the deductibles, comp and collision, what's included, Mexico coverage endorsement, things like that. However, it doesn't give you information on the symbol. See, if you go through, now we're writing a property. So what they'll do, and sometimes you have to ask them for a second endorsement, or a second attachment rather, to get all the information that we need to make sure we know what type of symbol that we're getting, etc. So here, you'll see covered autos, and they have symbols 1, 8, and 9. 8 and 9 are not necessary to put there. That's the way their system generates it. They know symbol 1 is symbol 1, 8 and 9 you don't need there, but they have it. Then you can look at, see, MedPay is right here. They're going to put down symbol 2, right? And then the limit. Underinsured motorist is 1 million. They have symbol 2 as well. And then the comp and collision that they have symbol 7. So you'll be able to see that there. You'll also, if you want to look at what values that they're having for the vehicles, they'll list it here along with the VINs, and then they'll list how, remember we talked about, is it service or is it private passenger, things like that. They'll break it all down as you go deeper and deeper into this quote, and they'll also start to break down premiums charged for each thing. So remember when we talked about, hey, do we want to take off MedPay, or do we want to take off UIM? You can see what the premiums are, and you'll be able to decide, does it make sense? We can add them up. So I think, as an example, MedPay right here, right? So it's basically $64 times 13, probably save them $800 if we pulled it off, right? And then the uninsured motorist portion over here, here's the premium over there. So you can go, well, if we took all of those off, it might save them a couple $1,000s. I think the total premium on this one, what was it? 13,000. So 15, 20%, something around there. It's just kind of an idea of where it would be at. But this is kind of what the NIF quotes are going to look like. So you know you really need that second document to be able to break down where their coverages are at.
Go back to the uninsured motorist a second. The breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look at the premiums there, look at MedPay and look at uninsured motorists. You see vehicle number, if I'm looking at 2, and vehicle number 8, okay? So because they're private passenger, the MedPays are cheaper, okay? But now look at uninsured motorist. They're more. Anybody got a reason why? Because they know that those vehicles are driven both at work and personally.
Got it. Okay, we're gonna jump in real quick into Liberty because this is our second most common carrier that we're working with. They too will be a 2-document scenario. They show more in their first, but again, you can see the premium there and they break it down, which is nice. Liability, physical damage, some of the premiums there, but as you get further down, again, we go into the symbols. Symbol 1, symbol 2 on the med pay, the uninsured, and then again, comp and the collision, symbol 7. The, one of the things that they'll have here is they list there is cost of hire, and they'll show $1. Again, they're gonna do it rated based on what they say the cost of hire is, and a lot of times they just do it as $1. So doesn't change what the coverage is, that's a rating factor to determine how much premium is.
Well, let me ask you, let's assume the liability wasn't symbol 1, it was a symbol 2. Wouldn't you think that the cost of hire will not reflect a 1 there? I mean, could it reflect a higher amount, or you're just saying 1 because it happens to be a symbol 1 on liability?
No, I'm saying it says limit of insurance right there, $1.
Okay, that's not the premium, that's just the limit.
That's the cost of, they're asking, how much, what do you guys pay in hired vehicles per year? Right?
It's a rating factor.
It's
So
a-
usually the $1, you can't put 0, so they put 1 if it's
I
like an
see.
if any.
Right, exactly.
Are you seeing any companies write symbol 2 on comp and collision?
Yes,
Yeah, a lot
for
of them are.
example, like the multi one, when we bound it, we changed it to 2 on comp collision, and then we didn't use the Blake quote, but they would have changed it to 2.
Usually why they don't on a lot of these is because vehicles are older and they won't give you coverage. If you have older vehicles or trailers that aren't valuable, they won't give you comp and collision coverage on
But
them.
I think, they're giving you, you're saying if.
They won't write
part
2
of them-
if part of your fleet is
Right.
older
Right.
trailers or older vehicles, because
Right.
they're not gonna give you comp and collision coverage on them. So they have to make it 7 to
Right,
pull those off.
cool. Again, you can go through and see vehicles and their premiums and their associated deductibles. For all the units, they've got a ton of units here. So same thing, but you can go and check. They have a second document that you can see, and it breaks things down on the premiums, like we were talking about. You can go, oh, okay, they'd say $4,000 if we took off uninsured, underinsured, or med pay, another $4,000, right? So there's quite a bit of premium. They break it down easier. Things to think about, again, it's not that we always want to be suggesting this, because it's very rare that we want clients to be taking these off. I really want it to be a more sophisticated client who understands, sign off, the producer has the conversation, we all understand what we're going into, and we really analyze the risk. But that said, you can see that there's a significant premium savings if it's something that makes sense. So, and you can also see on here, drive other car coverage. You see how cheap that is relative to the premium? It's
Although,
virtually nothing.
That's if you find where drive other car coverage is, I don't know if there's multiple owners for Blake, right?
Okay?
So if you just have one owner, husband and wife, it might be cheaper. That's just gonna say, if you can see it on the policy at all, there might be the third owner on there.
We don't have the policy, and it doesn't list it here.
Yeah, they were listed on the Accord, so that's probably with all of them, because Nancy did this quote, because she probably put all, I think there's 6 maybe.
Yeah,
That were-
husbands and wives.
Yeah, husband.
So that's just a quick explanation of where we can find information in the quotes. Again, we have Philly in there. Again, one of the things we have to look at on Philly is that they don't want to do uninsured, underinsured motors at $1 million. So we're not going to be selling them unless you can convince the underwriter to bump it up to $1 million. Okay? And lastly, we're going to go through the proposal.
Scroll off.
Nope.
Nope. Click it again. Wait.
I'm gonna do it a different way. There we go. Okay, so you can see this is going to be an actual, it's going to have multiple lines of coverage in there, but we'll start with the premium summary page. Again, you guys know this, you guys have seen this, but you can see it'll be included right here where the auto premium is, who the carrier is, and then any taxes and fees that would be associated with it. We're going to skip, oh, this arrow's not working. Okay. I want to go into, real quick, again, where you can find the marketing plan. You can go which carriers we approach, which declined, and for what reason, and the different premium histories in the proposal. The next page is, again, a lot of our clients will not, holy moly, a lot of our clients will not have a rate summary for auto, so this is going to be more rare. Only on some of our larger ones you'll see it, but it's a rate per power unit, which is just an average, right? So it's the premium divided by the number of power units that we have, and they can tell roughly what it is. Again, vehicles will change depending on their age, year, type, all that. So this is just an average of across the board. So it's not what each vehicle actually costs. Okay, that's GL. We're going to swing down into auto. Okay. We're just going to kind of go top to bottom. You'll see up here we have the policy term, the insurance company, and the AM Best rating. Okay, here we have the named insured, so everyone that's named in the policy, and then we're going to go into our coverage limits, right? So we're going to have, symbol 1 and the limits associated. Even though it's symbol 1, we're still showing 8 and 9 here, just to show that they actually do have coverage for hired and non-owned liability. Uninsured, underinsured motorists, we have symbol 2 with the $1 million limits. You got MedPay there, symbol 2. And the physical damage, comp and collision, symbol 7 listed there, as well as the deductibles that are associated. The coverage extension form, a lot of the auto carriers will have the extension form that adds miscellaneous other coverages on there. Some of the exclusions, these are very general, that you'll find there. And then below this, what we'll have is things that you need to pay attention to. We need to make sure that they have acceptable MVRs, any excluded drivers. If they have any family that's a driver that's an underage driver, they could be excluded. Automobile symbols, this is just kind of an explanation. If we forget, you can look right there. If you want to reference to the client, it will be there. And the coverages by vehicle that are associated. As you continue, we'll have a driver and vehicle schedule in every policy, right? So you'll go through and you'll be able to see all the names, date of birth, license, and then the state that they're licensed in. And then the next one will be the vehicle schedule listed there and the garaging locations that are associated with it. I believe. So here's the broadening form that comes with this one. This one doesn't have a ton, but you know, the glass breakage deductible waiver, so you don't have to pay deductible if you have the glass breakage, things like that that are just going to be miscellaneous forms that they're going to throw in. Some of the carriers have, some of them don't. And that's the extent of the auto in this proposal. That pretty much is all we have in this class. It was just kind of to go through what these forms look like, kind of familiarize ourselves with them and where to find things. Are there any questions? I know we kind of ripped through that, but any questions on any of that, where to find something, what it means?
On the motor carrier permits?
Yeah.
Is there a charge, number one? And number two, do you see just a work comp only versus an auto only motor carrier permit?
I don't think there's a charge at all. I've never seen
There's
one.
no charge, and usually they'll need it for both. If they do need it, they'll usually need it both for the workers' comp and the auto. The one example he showed was from CPG, which wrote both. So usually you'll have to go to two different carriers, you know, the workers' comp carrier and their auto carrier. All will send it to the DMV and you can get a copy.
NIF too, they're not, you have to ask them for the vehicle deck, but on top of that, they're not putting in the symbols on the covered autos, so you have to ask them to do that, which kinda sucks.
When they send the second page,
Yeah.
They don't do what?
So they're not listing the symbols
Oh.
for the covered autos, it's just blank. And it's happened to me a couple times already, so I have to ask for it specifically. Sometimes she'll put it in the quote at the top where it was blank before,
right,
sometimes she won't, so it just depends.
good to know.
On the NVRs, how many points can someone have until they're not a valid driver?
Every carrier has their own, I mean, have you guys found a general trend?
Well, I just
Usually
can't
more than, if they have 3, definitely not, and if they usually have a 2-point violation, they're usually not okay, but they all
Okay.
have different eligibility,
Right.
so it's hard to give like a,
Okay,
DUIs are bad.
that makes sense. Okay, I just didn't know if there was a certain number, like when we're checking MVRs, where it's like, oh, okay, they only have so many points, so we can tell the insured, it's probably clear.
No, we don't tell the insured that they're gonna be good or not, unless it's clean, you know, but
Okay, so only if it's,
we can make recommendations, but we can't tell them, we can tell them, hey, there's a good chance this is going to be, but we're not going to be able to be the one to make that judgment. It's on
Okay.
the carrier.
okay,
So,
makes sense.
you know, if in doubt, we gotta send it in,
Yeah,
so.
So we went through this, Sylvia and Brian and I the other day, but I'll ask Stephanie just to see. So we get a guy with a fleet like this, right? And we got a guy that comes up with a DUI, right? So what do we say to the client? He says, Steph, this guy's been with me 20 years. Now what do we do?
well, I would tell them I have to check with the carrier first to
And
make
the
sure.
carrier says, we absolutely will not take him, he's got a DUI. But
That's-
now I'm telling you, I really need the guy.
Well, I can't drive, so
So what's my options, Steph? What do I do?
you have to find a new driver.
So the option is that either this guy drives with somebody else, right, takes him from job to job, or we could take that one vehicle off the fleet, assign it to, take it to a company like Progressive, give them the MVR and say, Progressive, do you want this vehicle with this driver? And they'll rate it accordingly. Now, the guy is gonna have a different set of limits. It's not something we like to do, but if the guy's that critical, we can go out and you're gonna take his premium from 1,500 to 7,500.
Yeah,
we also don't think we can record Progressive anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
there's other companies that do it. We, again, we may do 1 or 2 a year. The reason I hate to do it on DUIs is because you're just asking for trouble. The carriers never like to defend DUIs, it's just nothing but a problem. But you have to be prepared for this because contractors, they almost always have guys that drink. It's just the nature of the business. So you have to be prepared. You can get coverage, but you gotta take the vehicle off. It's generally a specified driver policy. It's really expensive. And is this guy worth an extra $6,000 a year? But as I said to Brian and Sylvia the other day, it's the owner's 22-year-old son. He needs coverage on that guy. Now, if we don't represent Progressive anymore, there's probably some substandard auto companies out there that we probably need to know, or talk to the wholesaler and say, hey, where can we go if we got one of these guys, and maybe they have access to it. But
Yeah.
we used to use Progressive many
Right.
years ago.
cool. Anything else? That's it. Thanks, guys.
Great, thank you.